Good morning, everyone. We hope everyone's having a great morning. First, a huge shout out for our crew that gave us some lovely music to start off the day. That was really just lovely. Well, my name is Ruben Mesa. I'm a hematologist. I'm the president of Atrium Health Levine Cancer. And on behalf of all of us across our cancer center, our cancer program, and the spectacular team in support of oncology, we really bid you all welcome. Today is a celebration of cancer survivorship, of being a cancer survivor. So first, what does that mean? Anyone who battles cancer is a cancer survivor. From the moment you're diagnosed, regardless of your journey, you are a cancer survivor. Now, why is cancer so different than other diseases? Cancer, in many ways, it's a thief. It's a thief that steals quality of life, length of life. It steals our sense of peace. It steals our certainty of what the future will bring. Being a cancer survivor is about taking the power away from that thief, about doing what we can in every way that we can, whether it's people who are involved in cancer research, caring for cancer patients, helping individuals recover, or you yourselves, the caregivers that are in the audience, the loved ones, helping to battle back and take that power away from cancer. Almost everyone in our society is touched by cancer in one way or another. I lost my father to lung cancer. My mother is a breast cancer survivor, and she's a breast cancer survivor because of the wonderful care that she received and all of the tremendous efforts in research, clinical trials, and other things that advance care to the point that that could be overcome. Now, the spirit of today is part of the thing that we have learned over time, is that being a cancer survivor is not only about attacking the cancer cells. In the past, it was thought, and inappropriately so, cancer's bad, we remove the cancer, surgery, radiation, chemotherapy, and then everything goes back to normal. We reset the clock. It's like it never happened. What we've learned is that that's not true. We've learned that the process of having had a cancer, whether you battle it chronically, whether you've overcome it, whether you're battling it today, it affects us in terms of emotionally, physically, spiritually. And the process that we have to undergo to battle cancer as well, it's a tough road. And overcoming that is an active process. You know, I tell folks it's a bit like getting back into shape, mentally, physically, emotionally, and in every way. Today is about our team trying to bring several tools to your toolbox to help you be a cancer survivor. People will ask me, Dr. Mesa, what else can I do to battle my disease? Should I be eating something different? Should I be sleeping better? Should I be taking a supplement? Should I be doing exercise? The answer is there's many things that can be of help, and we'll be discussing many of these different things today in terms of this healing journey. Now, today, in our audience, we have patients, we have individuals who are undoubtedly undergoing therapy, people that have had therapy years in the past, caregivers. We have members of our team that provide care, provide supportive care, and we clearly have people who are friends and loved ones here to help us. We honor our caregivers who are walking with us on this journey. As you came in today, everyone got a plum-colored lanyard, and I'm glad they told me it was a plum because, you know, I'm just a guy, so I would have said purple, but it's plum, and it's used to signify caregiving. Throughout the day, each of you have the opportunity to tie a ribbon in the color of your choice to the 2024 Survivorship wreath. Where is the wreath? So I could point that out. Okay, the wreath is in the back, so we can make that festive. It'll live at our Levine Cancer Institute on Moorhead and be a meaningful reminder for each of you here today. Let me go through a few housekeeping tips. The bathrooms are located over there in the back, off to the rear, to your left and to my right. So we really have a tremendously, what we think, thoughtful and helpful day today. We encourage people to really meet others, because part of being a cancer survivor is knowing that you're not alone, that you're part of a community. And I think that helps tremendously. I frequently find at events like this that you learn as much from each other as you do from my colleagues and I as we go through some of these opportunities. Now, we wanted to kick today off in a way that is something very special, I think, about Atrium Health. Atrium Health, I've been here for about 1.5 years, but it's really a very, very special and thoughtful place. It's a place that really deeply cares about health, hope, and healing for everyone in our society. So we're really proud to be a part of this special team. And one of the things they do is that when we gather, whether it's for a meeting or an event, we have something that's called a connect to purpose. You know, why are we here? To really ground our efforts in a way that is meaningful. So we have a very special connect to purpose. And today we have cancer partners, both Jackie Edwards and Sandra Goldman. Jackie has been a nurse for 16 years, and for 13 of those, she's worked with cancer patients in oncology rehab, inpatient solid tumor, and survivorship. She led the team that developed today's event, so many thanks for her time and efforts in creating a special experience, hopefully, for all of you today. And then Sandra is a 14-year breast cancer survivor and a self-described warrior. An enthusiastic and unconventional fundraiser, Sandra raises awareness and funds for the Sandra Levine Women's Breast Cancer Program by skydiving, rappelling down high-rise building, and creating new events for Project Pink. I think you'll find this skit amusing, enlightening, relatable. Take it away, Jackie and Sandra.
Can you hear me? Awesome. All right. So during the cancer journey, survivors can find themselves surrounded by several passengers in their car. So today we're going to sort of keep the, well, I think maybe we're a little closer together. We're going to keep the journey theme going throughout the day. So today we're having Sandra as the cancer patient who is newly diagnosed and having to go through the experience of sharing with each of her passengers what she's going through. A lot of folks, as they hear the news, have a variety of reactions, and everybody goes into sort of their default place emotionally of how to describe that journey. So Sandra, take it away.
I have cancer.
Oh no. You know what? I can be there for you. I can be at every appointment. I can arrange for transportation. We can look at different options. I will bring a notebook, a pen. Just tell me anything you want. And
Jackie, I'm hitting the brakes right here I appreciate you very much and all your well-meant comments and suggestions, but I got this for now, all right? I must figure this out by myself first. This is also overwhelming, and I need to listen to what the doctors have to say, share it with my family, and put a game plan together. I promise I will call you if I need help.
Okay.
I have cancer.
Oh, you know what? I had this really great doctor, and I got by with just like surgery and radiation, didn't have to go through any chemo. Maybe I should hook you up with him.
I'm so glad that you only needed surgery and radiation. I'm thrilled you loved your doctor and that his team took great care of you. I'm quite happy with my team right now, and I'm not comfortable seeing anybody else. If I ever want a second or third opinion, I might get back to you and ask for his or her name. In the meantime, Jackie, as you know, each cancer is different, and each person reacts differently to the disease and treatment. I'm confident my team is catering to my needs as they see fit. Don't you dare touching that steering wheel, you know. I have cancer.
Oh no, that killed my aunt.
Gee, I'm not really sure how to respond, Jackie. Um, I'm very sorry for your loss, but you know, I kind of feel still very much alive. And you know, it's really possible to live, not just to live, actually, but to thrive and live a productive and meaningful life, even with cancer. So please, don't plan my funeral yet. I better make sure to stay away from that Debbie Downer. Cancer thrives on negativity, and I really don't want to surround myself with someone like this. So I'll kick this one out of my car, or I can find some sort of ejection button. I have cancer.
Oh, you know, I heard that burgers can cause cancer. Have you considered going organic?
This reminds me of a well-meaning friend who once suggested to me I should start using a specific horse supplement. She said, Ginger got cancer. We started adding this supplement to his feed. Lo and behold, it's really true, by the way. Lo and behold, it cured the mare. So thanks, Jackie. I will check with my doctor. Truth is that cancer is complicated. Eating healthy is important, never mind if you're sick or healthy. And Jackie, I have to admit, after feeling all nauseated from chemo, I really crave that burger. I might just order one tonight, even if I might throw up afterwards. I have cancer.
Oh, well, at least they caught it early and it's not the scary kind.
I'm very grateful it was caught early, but Jackie, I did not realize cancer was categorized into scary and not scary. And am I supposed to cheer now? I know it's coming from a caring place, but it's still a disease that may kill, and I don't need to be reminded of that. Hearing that you have cancer is devastating, never mind if it's caught early or not. Please don't downplay my diagnosis. I have cancer.
Oh, I am so sorry. You know, if you need anything, you just let me know. Do you mind if I check in on you from time to time?
This reminds me of the good friend who hugs me each time he sees me and says with the most sincere and sad voice, I am so sorry. Guess what? I've not died yet. Have not dug my grave either. And seriously, you want to help? Please come up with something concrete. Empty words don't really help, and I might be simply too tired to even think about what I could need. So I want to know you all that this is my story, this is my car, and I'm usually at the steering wheel. I have lots of passengers, but I really like them to be in the back seat, or sometimes not even in my car. There are co-pilots. They're wonderful. Most of the time, I don't want one either. And the bottom line is, like I said, it's my story. There are plenty people, plenty patients, caregivers. They want passengers involved. They want that co-pilot. They want somebody who takes over. It's not me, but I appreciate everybody who does that for their patient, and not to forget the ones who actually want to be in the trunk and not be seen at all.
So we wanted to just highlight a few things that many of you in this room have probably heard over the years, or over maybe the last few weeks even. So we want to make sure to honor that experience that you have had, where you have a lot of different passengers that are well-meaning, but maybe not always saying the right things. Mind you, we're not trained generally to say the right things, and everybody's going to react differently. And it's not bad or good, it's just maybe it wasn't right for you. So today we want to focus on, when you experience those things, how do we move past that and go to a place of hope and healing?
Thank you so much. Well, fantastic. That was both enlightening as well as so true. Again, having been involved with caring for cancer patients, being the son of individuals with cancers, all of those different friend types are true, well-meaning, but certainly, as you kind of walk your journey, certainly feel free to both share with folks, thank you, really like those kind words, but again, also really to try to put it in its own box. Cancer is probably one of the most emotive diseases in our society, because people, the moment they hear the word, they bring all of those experiences to the table, with their friends, what they experience, their aunt, their uncle, their parents, and it's a lot to take in. Sometimes what I do is I tell my patients, you have my full permission to not think about your cancer today at all. That's why we have a team. There's a time and a place, but you are not a cancer. It's just part of who you are. That's part of your journey, but it doesn't define you. It's not who you are. So sometimes you just need to say, I'm not going to think about this today. I'm going to the beach. I have an event. I'm enjoying time with family, and I am not defined by that. We are not an illness. It's just something that we face. It's something that we overcome. Now, clearly, the spiritual is an incredibly important part of this journey. And indeed, it's funny, as I care for people that are facing difficult diseases, things you never hear. Boy, I wish I had had more time to respond to email. Boy, I wish I had been able to, balance my checkbook, one more time. Boy, I wish I had, gone to one more work meeting. Or, boy, I'd really love to spend more time on Zoom. People really reflect typically on people, on relationships, and on their faith. So for next, our team certainly believes in this holistic approach that includes spiritual care, realizing that, again, that is very individualized, as an offering of support in your survivorship journey. Amanda White is our dedicated Levine Cancer Chaplain, available to patients, caregivers, and teammates. And she will share with you some tools for mindfulness practices. See, I saw Amanda. There's Amanda. Welcome.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to see you all this morning. Can you hear me okay? Perfect. All right. So something that is really helpful no matter where we are in our journeys, whether you are the one navigating cancer in your own body or having overcome it, or you're supporting and sitting next to someone who is, thank you for how you show up. And something that's important to being able to show up the way you do is something just to have the skills to be able to draw on as things feel chaotic, as things feel out of control. And one of those that we'll engage briefly today is mindfulness. Mindfulness is something that I know we kind of throw the phrase around a little bit here and there. Some of us might be more or less familiar with it. You might be a huge proponent. You might have no idea what I'm talking about. So the goal for the next few minutes is kind of a crash course in mindfulness, and you'll get to practice it with me as well. And my hope is, in doing this together, you'll be able to identify and tap into your own resources and ways that you connect with the world, the people around you, as you go through wherever you are. So to kind of define mindfulness in a nutshell, it can be hard to do, but there is a definition. And today I'll share this: mindfulness as an awareness of one's internal states and surroundings. So what's happening inside my body, inside my mind, my heart. Mindfulness can help people avoid destructive or automatic habits and responses by learning to observe their thoughts, your emotions, and other present moment experiences without judging or reacting to them. That part can be hard for myself, and I think for a lot of us. A lot of times as emotions, as things get chaotic, emotions come in and we feel or react a certain way that we might not like. I might, for example, say, I don't like the anger I feel about this. I don't like how I reacted to the loved one who was well-meaning, but poked me in just the right way that I kind of snapped back at them. And so mindfulness invites us to be curious and kind. I consider it a kind of gentle or kind attention to what's going on in your internal world, and that can help how you show up to the world around you too. And so a lot of times mindfulness can be considered a resource when things feel out of control. It's hard. As humans, we like control. We like to be able to know what's happening. And when we don't have that, it can kind of shift us and we lose our footing. Mindfulness is just one of multiple tools that you can use to practice that sense of control and hopefully bring a little bit of calm to the chaos. And I'll let you read as I share, if you can see the little funny on the screen, by illustrator and comic Liz Climo. But some days we just need to hide in the little turtle shell and it's just too much. So what does mindfulness do? Why is it important to take some time today to talk about it? Mindfulness can help us build resilience, both as individuals and in community or family. Mindfulness can help us engage in the present. I know a lot of times with what we have going on, it's easy to feel frozen, to feel stuck or perhaps paralyzed by what's happening to us or someone we care about. And so practicing mindfulness can kind of help us get our feet on the ground a little bit more and notice where we are, notice if we're safe, notice what we need, and to be able to offer our own self-compassion to be able to better get through what it is that's happening. Mindfulness also helps us use existing skills that you already have in you and acknowledging your values to meet your own needs. These needs might be a sense of control, which we talked about just a minute ago, or a sense of calm when things feel so disorganized and chaotic. Perhaps a feeling of confidence, even though some things are out of your control and are going to be, or a sense of peace when it's just too much or when it's heavy. And then lastly, mindfulness can also help us calm the nervous system. In our bodies, we hold a lot of emotion, we hold a lot of memory and a lot of energy. And when we hold on to it, we can kind of become a bit of a pressure cooker. And we know that doesn't always go well. So mindfulness practices in the moment, even if it's 5 minutes here and there, or even 60 seconds, can help to acknowledge what's happening internally, settle down a little bit of that anxious energy, and hopefully help you feel a little bit more grounded or rooted where you are. And so I know because this is such a short period of time that we're talking about such a giant and nebulous topic, I want to kind of give little micro ideas of what mindfulness can look like, because we all know that life changes all the time. As we hear in healthcare a lot, the only thing constant is change. We love it. And so one of the things that's helpful is implementing practices that are specifically meaningful to each of us as individuals. What works for me might not work perfectly for you. What worked for you 6 months ago might not work for you today. Maybe your body's changed. Maybe you're not able to go for that 1 mile or 5 mile walk or run that you used to. And so it takes playing around and being a little bit creative, perhaps going back to the drawing board to see what's important to me, how do I access that, and what help do I need to be able to get to it. So these are just a few ideas. This list is not exhaustive, but it's a place to start. We'll practice actually a body scan today. It's just a short 5-minute meditation that I'll walk you through. You don't have to move around or change where you're at. Some other options are different kinds of meditations, whether that's a walking meditation where you're just walking very thoughtfully, again, engaging, checking in with what's going on internally. Maybe a seated meditation, you might have earbuds in, able to listen to one through YouTube or an app. Sometimes it's breath work. You might hear this a lot from your providers or from me if I'm your chaplain, or even your physical therapist. And we work on something called diaphragmatic breathing. It's more breathing through your belly instead of up high. When we feel anxious or get caught up in life and everything, it's easy to start breathing a bit more shallow. And we're not getting the full breath that we need to be able to keep going well. And so learning that pattern of breathing more naturally through our bellies, letting our abdomen rise and fall instead of our chest, can actually be helpful to promote like that sense of calm and just help you feel a little bit more at peace from the inside out. Another option is like mindfulness-based therapies, seeing a good social worker, counselor, therapist, and they can walk you through what those can look like. Another might be, depending on your background and belief systems or worldviews, meditation or prayer, and spending time outside, just going out in fresh air, getting outside of the walls can be really helpful. Even if you're not walking, you can sit wherever it is. Stepping away from stressors for a moment. If you're working, for example, and your workplace is wild and you just got off a phone call that's really stressful or just maybe hit you the wrong way, you can take a walk, go do a quick little lap, or go to the bathroom, take a breath or two. All these sorts of things can be quick little resets that we don't always think about. We just often try to just keep pressing on. It's okay to pause and perhaps necessary. And then things like taking a walk outside, music, what music either makes your body want to move and dance, or what brings that sense of calm and peace to your system. And then other things like yoga, Tai Chi, or a walking labyrinth. I know at least in the Charlotte area, we have some walking labyrinths in the area. I think Atrium Cabarrus has one as well. It's kind of just like a little maze that only goes to one place, so you don't have to think about it, and then you get to walk back. It's just a kind of quick little reset that can be refreshing and different than what you might be used to. And so now we've talked a lot about mindfulness, but now we get to practice it. So wherever you are, whether you're online or in the room, I invite you to just get as comfy as you can in your chair. If you hear me pause as we walk through this meditation, that is on purpose. I have not left. We're just trying to give space for you to reflect, to check in. I am right here, and I'll walk you through next steps, and I'll also be clear when we're done. So go ahead and try to just get situated. You can begin by bringing your attention to your environment. Just notice where you are, if you're safe. You can slowly look around if that would be helpful. Just notice that you're okay in this moment to be right where you are. If you feel comfortable doing so, I invite you now to close your eyes. Or if you need to, you can just shift your gaze down. And begin by bringing attention to your body. You can notice your body seated in the chair that it's in. Feel the support of that chair beneath you. And just take a few deep breaths, trying to let your belly rise and fall. What I'm inviting you to today is called a body scan, and we'll walk from kind of toes to head. If I invite you to notice a certain part of your body that's uncomfortable or that you're not quite feeling connected with right now, you can just jump to the next part, and that's okay. As you take those deep breaths, imagine breathing in a little bit more oxygen and filling that belly with air, perhaps like a balloon, expanding. As you exhale, have a sense of relaxing more deeply. If you notice that there is tension in your body, just try to breathe into that space and loosen that tension. And notice your feet on the floor if you can. The sensation of your feet touching the floor, the weight and the pressure. You can notice your legs against the chair. And whatever sensations are present in your body right now. I'm not asking you to change anything about how you feel, just notice. There might be perhaps a heaviness or a tightness that you're feeling today, a pressure, maybe even excitement and good butterflies. Notice whatever it is. If you find yourself getting distracted, that's okay. Just acknowledge that thought and try to return to your breathing. Now notice your back in the chair. Bring your attention into your stomach. If your stomach is tense or tight, as you breathe, just try allowing that to soften. And take a breath. Notice your hands. Are they tense or tight? See if you can allow them to soften as well. Notice your arms, any sensations there. As you move up, let your shoulders soften. As you do this, continue to breathe. And notice your neck and your throat. We often hold tension in these places. If you can, allow your neck and your throat to soften and relaxed. And now soften your jaw, your face. Continue to breathe in and out. And notice your whole body present right where you are. Take another breath. Be aware of your whole body as much as you can. Just notice what you're feeling, acknowledge it, and know that wherever you are is perfectly okay. And as you take another breath, you can notice the surroundings of this room again. Notice where you are. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. All right, I know it's not nap time now. We've got a little bit more to go. But I thank you so much for engaging that with me. That was probably, I'm guessing, about 5 or 6 minutes. You can do kind of micro versions of this throughout the day if you need to. Just to pause when you're feeling a bit more uptight or feeling anxious, if you're about to go present or you're about to go to an appointment, and you notice that you're carrying a bit more stored up energy, you can try to work on that breath, just breathing through your belly a little bit more and offering just some gentle care and awareness to whatever's happening inside your body. You're going through it, and so that's okay. And so some kind of take-home resources, so to speak, some more ideas for you of what mindfulness can look like as I wrap up my time with you. There are plenty options. I will not take all the time to run through all this list, but feel free to take a picture of it. Feel free to do some research on your own and just find what works for you. But some things I do want to highlight, just almost one from each section. Dialogue is one kind of, it can be mindfulness depending on how we engage it. But I encourage you, whenever you need to and when you don't, reach out to someone, call a friend, a loved one, social worker, chaplain, therapist, whoever it is. Find the people who can love you and hear you well and use those people. That's what they're there for. And then some more fun things like music or singing. Actually, humming can be helpful for calming our systems a little bit as well. So if there's a song that just has you moving, play it. Even if you feel like you're not quite ready for that, you can play it and see how it goes. Or connect with what music brings you a sense of peace and calm when things just feel super chaotic. And then something I think sometimes catch unexpectedly is awe, A-W-E, not awe, but awe is kind of that wonder or amazement of, wow, look at the way the light moves and dances through those trees, or look at the way that 3-year-old girl just like twirled in her dress like nobody's business. I'm currently experiencing awe a lot with my baby nephew. Whatever he does is perfect. And so find the things that you connect with that take your breath away, even if they're small. And then dance, I won't elaborate on that, but that can be a really meaningful one for feeling free when you're feeling stuck in your body. And with that said, the last thing I want to share is you all should have in your bags a little square breathing card or a box breathing card. I'll show you, you don't have to pull it out, you can, but I'm gonna just tell you how to use it. This is something you can put in your car, in your bag, at your desk, give it to someone who you think might need it more than you. And something that you'll do is you'll breathe in, you can follow the box, you can trace it with your finger or just with your eyes, You'll breathe in for 4 seconds, and then you'll hold for 4 seconds, and you'll breathe out for 4 seconds, and you'll hold again for 4 seconds. There are variations of doing this. This is hard for me. So what I'll do is I'll actually breathe in for 4 seconds and breathe out. I won't practice the hold. Figure out a little bit of what works for you. Another option is making it rectangular, breathing in for 4 seconds and out for 6. That can also be as helpful or a little bit more helpful. So it's just a little reminder for you, a little take home, so that hopefully as you work on engaging and integrating mindfulness practices for you, you have a little extra encouragement there. And thank you all for your time, for the way you show up, for engaging in mindfulness with me this morning, and I hope it's helpful for you as you keep going.
Well, Amanda, that was wonderful. I know I feel much more relaxed and much more mindful. So deeply appreciated, and hopefully folks are able to take some of that back home with them. Let's go ahead and take a 10-minute break. Part of our goal today is not to exhaust you with too much stuff, but to have a chance to also reflect and have a chance to meet others. So we're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we'll return to a group art activity in the back of the auditorium. So you've seen a few things, including the hexagons, and these can really be both fun as well as very helpful in a variety of ways. For those of you online, feel free to take a longer break and then reconvene with us at 11:15 a.m. Eastern for our next speaker. Thank you. Of the day as well. So next, I'd like to introduce you to a very special speaker who has a dual perspective on cancer survivorship. Dr. Michael Kendall is passionate about cancer survivorship and providing a personal connection to his Levine cancer patients at care locations across Charlotte, Pineville, and Matthews. Michael, like many cancer care physicians, providers, nurses, pharmacists, are either cancer survivors themselves or clearly have been touched by cancer through someone that they have loved. But as a direct prostate cancer survivor, he brings a uniquely personal perspective to his medical practice. By using a person-centered approach, he wants to know the person behind the patient's name first, beyond their cancer diagnosis. Welcome, Dr. Kendall.
Well, I do appreciate you allowing me the privilege to be here today. My name is Michael Kendall. I'm a physician with the LCI Cancer Survivorship Clinic. And first of all, I just want to thank everybody for your attendance today, for the support that you've given, and your attention as I speak for the next few minutes. I'm going to assume that if I see somebody nodding off, that they're just re-engaging with their mindfulness exercises that Amanda does. So I won't take offense, but I do appreciate your time. And the name of this event today is Journey Through Survivorship, and it is indeed a journey. We've all had our own journeys, whether we're patients or we're caregivers or friends and families of ones that we love. And we don't compare stories, but really we learn from each other from our paths. And my goal today is really twofold. First of all, I want to be a really good listener. I hope to get a chance to speak with a lot of you and just learn from your stories, because I'm selfish. I like to acquire knowledge. I like to hear what you have to say has helped you so that it can benefit me in my own cancer walk. But just as importantly, I hope that something that we say today will be maybe a moment where a bell goes off, a light bulb, and you say, hey, I had not thought about that at all. And maybe it'll re-engage into a different path on how you manage your own personal journey with cancer. So I want to share a little bit about my own journey. So in August 1995, I'd originally been from North Carolina. I grew up down in Wilmington. I went to Duke for undergraduate. That's a four-letter word for many in this room. I did go on to Chapel Hill for medical school. I like to say my money ran out, so I settled on Carolina, but I was really, really happy to go to Chapel Hill. I then went to University of Michigan, where I did a medicine residency for training for a practice in internal medicine. Came back to Charlotte, 1995 in August. I started practice at a primary care office with Atrium. I did that practice for about 26 years. And, you know, it was really fulfilling. I got a chance to meet probably 4,000 to 5,000 patients during that time. The work was great, it was fulfilling, but it was also somewhat grueling. I know people in this room work hard. I worked hard as well. It was probably 70, 75 hours a week. And so finally in 2021, you know, I said, I think I'm going to step away. I'm not quite sure this is where I need to end up and continue with my career. So while I was ruminating on that, also, my doctors and I had been watching my PSA level. And so many of you know that PSA is the initials that stand for prostate-specific antigen. And if you look at your reference range, if you're a man, you'll see it's less than 4. When I was watching mine had gone from 1.9 to 2.4. Anything greater than 2 in a young man, I was 55 at the time, I'm 58 now. I consider myself then and now a young man. And so that brought the attention to my doctor. Saw a urologist, and he suggested, you know, let's get another blood test in the spring of 2021, which we did. And so it came back at 3.4. And so that really got our attention. I underwent an MRI scan and a prostate biopsy, and I was diagnosed with intermediate grade prostate cancer. And at that time, so I ended up conferring with one of our surgeons at Atrium, Dr. Chris Gaston. We decided to do a surgery and a prostatectomy on that day in August of 2021. After the surgery directly, he said, you know, Mike, the cancer has leaked out onto your pelvic floor, and we're going to need to do radiation. And I thought, well, that's fine. You know, we'll clean up the residual, and we'll be fine from there. Standard of care is to get another PSA level after surgery. And when I did that in mid-October, just before I retired, the numbers were still at 0.6. They should have been 0. I talked to one of the oncologists, and he suggested we do a specific scan called a PET scan or a PSMA scan. It's curious, I ended up having this scan done on my birthday. I was turning 56, and I said, you know, what could go wrong? It's going to be a good birthday present. And instead, I got probably the worst present I could have. I got news that it was, I had metastatic lesions in my pelvis. And so here I was, you know, I'm 56 years old, just turned. I've got metastatic cancer with a prognosis of about 50% survival after 5 years. I have no job. I've got 3 kids, all of whom are either in college or just graduating. They're scared. I'm actually glad I don't have a job, but I knew I could do better self-care. And then Dr. Burgess and I put forward a plan. What are we going to do with this? We had had surgery. He laid out a plan to go ahead and do radiation and then begin a 2-year course of depriving my body of testosterone through both pills and shots. And so, you know, we did that. I'm really pleased as I fast forward that after I retired from practice and completed my course, I am right now no evidence of disease. My numbers are still 0. Praise God about that. And so I did keep with that path of retirement. I think my wife said, you know, don't you want to go out and do something? And so that old adage of, you know, for better or worse, but never for lunch, really struck home with me. And I miss patient care. So I found the opportunity to begin working at LCI. And so as I stepped into that space, you know, remembered that, you know, what is the meaning of a cancer survivor? Well, if you've had cancer and you've been cured, you're a cancer survivor. If you and your doctors are just simply watching, waiting to see if your cancer returns, there's no evidence of disease like myself, you're a cancer survivor. If you're living with cancer currently, or maybe you're under treatment, or you decided against treatment, you're a cancer survivor. And if you were just diagnosed this week, you haven't yet seen your oncologist, you don't know what that path is going to be, you're still a cancer survivor. So why do we do what we do? We see patients as they have gone through their treatment, and the oncologist suggests to them that, this may be a really good spot, because we all have to get to that point where we're not just in active treatment, but then we're also looking forward. What does the rest of our lives mean? And so, this is not this is not new news to our medical community or community at large. If you look at this statistics, it says in 2023, we anticipated, and we did in fact see, about 2 million new cases of cancer during the year. And we had over 600,000 people who died. And so in spite of that, we know that in spite of the fact that we're having increased numbers of diagnosis, we're improving in our care for patients. We've had since 1991, over the past 30 years or so, we've had about a third or 33% decline in mortality. We've estimated 3.8 million deaths averted. To put these numbers in context, if there are about 330 million people in America, and let's say you open your phone and you look in your contact list and you've got 170 people, that means one of them is going to be diagnosed with cancer this year. And if you've got over 500, about 550 people in your contact list, that means one may die of cancer this year. So those numbers, I don't want anybody to have cancer or die of cancer, but it really brings to my attention, because I know I have at least 170 folks in my contact list, and I know I need to be mindful of each and every one of those. So in 2018, the New England Journal just suggests what the medical community needed to be aware of. We know that with these increased numbers of cancer survivors, what is going to happen, right? So it's not unusual if you're a cancer patient, you see your oncologist, and your focus at that time, particularly in the initial diagnosis phase and treatment, is often just on your cancer. But we know that as time goes on, as you're a survivor and as you transition from the oncology staff, I think of it a little bit like fishing. I'm not a fisherman. I'm terrible at it, but I do like relaxing. I guess I'm retired, so I have to fish. I think about kind of catch and release, right? That's the oncologist will catch you, they'll do their work, and then they release you to somewhere. And where do we go? And so I think that was the advent of our survivorship clinic. We know that primary care, OBGYN, mid-level providers do a wonderful job, but they're pressed for time. And the number of providers and the access to primary care is dwindling as time goes on. And so the survivorship clinic allows us a space where our cancer survivors can come. We are able to sit, we're able to speak about who they are, not what cancer they have specifically, but not defined by their cancer, but who they are as people. So I love this quote. William Osler, he's often called the father of modern medicine. And he says, the person who takes medicine must recover twice, once from the disease and once from the medicine. And he also says, and I try to remember this with every patient we go in to see, ask not what disease the person has, but rather what person the disease has. And so, when we think about that, disease, treatment, and people, I know the providers in the room, that's why we went into medicine, and that's why we love taking care of patients. So at our Cancer Survivorship Clinic, who do we see? Well, some of it depends on the ages at which they were diagnosed and treated. We see adults. I'm an adult medicine doctor, and so myself and Dr. Jim Hall, we are partners in seeing folks who have been treated and diagnosed as an adult. We do see adolescents and young adults. We call them our AYA patients. And as they transition from the young adult clinic or the pediatric clinic to adults, Dr. Hall and Dr. Gamilli and myself will also see them. And then we do have a pediatric clinic. Dr. Jennifer Pope and Kathy Martin, who's a nurse practitioner, do just a wonderful job of watching those patients as they age, and then eventually there's an appropriate time for them to be transitioned to our clinic. And we know that's important, particularly for our younger survivors, because I know when I was 21, 22, 25, the thought of having a primary care doctor was not on my list at all. And so we're mindful of the fact that there's a potential that someone could slip through the cracks. So what are our goals when we see our patients? Well, I like to think amongst the many we have four. Certainly we want to improve the quality of life. That's where we start, and we talk about, tell me about you, not your cancer. Tell me what your goals are. What are you doing? What are your passions? How does that look for you on a day-to-day basis? We really want to address any of those post-treatment needs. Dr. Osler talked about the recovering from the medicine and its effects, and I think that addresses that sentiment. We want to talk about long-term health. Now that you've won that battle, we hope, and even if you're in the midst of it, we know that there are going to be long-term needs and going to be long-term health consequences. And then finally, our goal is not to be primary care doctors. Our goal is to improve communication between ourselves, patient, and their primary providers. So many of you have heard of Salika Jode. She's a well-known author. When she was in her 20s, she was just in college, she developed leukemia, and she wrote a memoir, and it was called Between Two Kingdoms, and it really was a talk about her journey from being a cancer patient. She required a bone marrow transplant, and then her recovery. And we recognize that we can be held hostage by cancer. We need a way to look forward. And, you know, she said that the biggest challenge she had with cancer was not going through a treatment, but it really started at the time that she had finished her treatment and was on to her survivorship. And we know that her health is not binary. The meaning of her story, Between Two Kingdoms, or her memoir, is that we live in a state of illness and wellness. We're not one or the other. That path is porous. There may be a day where I have my head back in my illness, and there may be days where I have in a state of wellness. But recognizing that we often will waffle back and forth. She does have a TED Talk. If you've not seen it, if you've not heard of her, I do encourage you. It's extremely encouraging. I just love her words. So cancer survivors that come through our clinic, we know that there are a number of things that they may bring into there. They may certainly have anxieties. I know when I get my blood test, it's like a PTSD again, that concern, that worry. There may be shame, particularly body image shame, changes that have occurred through their treatment. There's sometimes guilt. You know, why was I the one who survived when others haven't? And just that, you know, what do I do now? I've stared mortality in the face, and now what do I do with my life? Do I have to have some sort of legacy or what's my purpose? We talk about changes in bodies, including any change in the intimacy between a patient and their partner. And then we talk about, and I like this term, we talk about the incarceration. This is from Jode's memoir, where she talks about a person she met who is he had a life sentence. He was going to be put to death. And he talked about his incarceration. And he thought about, you know, your journey in cancer oftentimes will have where your mind is in a place where it's almost a death sentence. So she called it incarceration, which I think is great. As I prepared for this talk, I was reading a book by John Green. It's called Anthropocene Revisited, and he's a wonderful author. He wrote Fault in Our Stars, and this is a story about how the humans have changed our Earth and the different things that we've done to our Earth and for our Earth. And he brought up this story. There was a famous painting. It's called Three Farmers. It was later known as Three Farmers on Their Way to a Dance. And this was done in Germany in 1914. And if you know your history, you know there was something important that happened in Germany in 1914. These were three farmers. If you take a look at them, you know, they've got their feet in the mud, they've got their head up in the sky, they've got cigarettes in their hand, they're walking with a cane, they're busy. They are on their way to a dance. If you look back in the background, it's more of a serene and pastoral landscape. And just that juxtaposition, I think, is striking. It's also ironic that the landscape cuts right across their head. And so in about a month or two after this picture was taken, the Archbishop Ferdinand was going to be assassinated, and Germany would enter World War I. And so as it turns out, these fellas had no idea what was ahead of them in 1 or 2 months. But we all know that's true. In our cancer journey, if you think back to 1 or 2 months before your diagnosis, or your family members, or your friends, or someone you care for, what was that like? And if you've stepped out of treatment and you now are cured, how's your mind really, and your body and your soul? Have we really cured that? Or are we always looking for that next war that's on in our path? So I like to visualize, as many of you do. I like to have a visual image. And when I thought about my own cancer journey and how I talk with patients, I thought, for me, cancer is, if it is a journey, that means I drive in a car. And I put cancer either in my front seat, my back seat, or the trunk. And for the first year, every moment, every day I woke up, cancer was just right in my ear. You've got cancer, you're not going to survive. You heard the numbers, and it was a struggle. I finally, through the help of with Dr. Burgess, some mental health exercises and good self-care, I was able to put it back into my back seat where I knew it was there, but I had to turn around and watch it. And I finally got to the point where I've put it in the trunk. But I know it's only as a matter of it stays in the trunk only if I tell it to stay in the trunk. And that comes through hard work. It comes through with good mindfulness. It comes through with really good work with counselors. And so I know when I go in and get my next blood test, I'll probably hop out of my car, I'll open the trunk, and I'll invite it into the front seat again. And I know that's going to happen, that anticipation that there will be a struggle for a day or two. My numbers come back 0, and I stick it back in the trunk again. So at Cancer Survivorship, we have what we call our Survivorship 7. It really is the 7 tenets of when we see patients, what we do. Our first one is surveillance. If you come in, if you're a patient and you've had, we'll say, breast cancer, you want to know, how is this doctor, who's not my primary oncologist, but now part of my team, how are we going to assure that we are being surveyed for any recurrence of my primary cancer? And so we do talk about that. We talk about, what measures we have now as time has gone on. What measures do we have for surveillance? For some, breast cancer may be simply doing a mammography. We do talk about laboratory work for some of our other cancers, if those are appropriate. We always follow the guidelines of what's called the NCCN, or the National Cancer Comprehensive Network, and we talk about why we do and when we do things. And we talk about imaging, are different images going to be necessary? With the advent of some of the cellular DNA testing, we now talk about early detection, not only of the cancer that they had, but other primary cancers. We talk about on here the laboratory CT scans, clinical examinations. We typically have someone come back at least once a year for their yearly examination. We talk about self-examinations for those appropriate, or for those cancers that's appropriate, and then any procedures that may be necessary. We know that people who have cancer, anywhere from 10 to 15% will have a secondary cancer. And if you look at some of the data on people who have more common cancers, up to 20-25% of people will end up with a secondary cancer. And we know about half of those folks who develop secondary cancer will end up dying of that secondary cancer. So we talk about, now that we've hopefully won or in the midst of that battle for one cancer, let's not take our eye off the ball. Let's not pretend that we beat it once and we're not going to have to face that battle. So we do talk about all the routine screening for other cancers, what's appropriate. We talk about in the treatment, if you've had a part of your treatment plan has put you at increased risk for a common cancer. For instance, our young adults who have had Hodgkin's and have had radiation to their chest, if they're female, we talk about the need for screen for breast cancer to begin at age 30 rather than 40. Or if you had abdominal radiation, we talk about screening at age 40 rather than 45 for colorectal cancer. Just a list of some of the cancers which we can routinely screen for. One of the ones that probably is not as high on the mind of some of our patients is the fact that if you're a smoker, we do have screening procedures for lung cancer. There are requirements, and again, following guidelines as to who is a candidate for that. My college roommate called me about a year ago, and he told me that he has esophageal cancer. And we talked through that, and we talked about the risk of that, chronic reflux. He's a middle-aged white guy, which is our biggest risk factor. And so we talked to all of our patients, are you having symptoms which would necessarily increase your risk of having esophageal cancer? We talk about genetics, certainly. So as time has gone on, and some of our patients, they were diagnosed 10, 15, 20 years ago. And things have changed as far as genetics. Medical community has learned a lot. We've learned different mutations. As I explained it to patients, we think about cancer as uncontrolled growth. And so innately, our body has green lights to tell cells to grow, and we have stop signs. And if we have a mutation or a change in that that genetic material that makes our stop signs and our green lights function properly. We need to know that because that might mean you or one of your kids or one of your siblings may also carry that. And so again, we look at the guidelines, what makes sense in patients. Not only does patients' history not stop as they've gone through treatment, but their family histories don't stop. And so coming into the survivorship clinic, it's an opportunity to revisit with their family history. Has anything developed since the onset of their cancer to now that would warrant a visit to our genetic counselor? We're very blessed to have at Levine. We have a wonderful genetic counseling division where the visits to go see the counselor are free, and then they discuss what insurance companies will pay for their genetic testing. It's a wonderful resource. We do talk about vaccinations. This is usually the time of the visit that I get to put on my primary care hat. We talk about the benefits of vaccines. There are going to be some which, depending on age and what risk factors are, we talk about routine vaccinations. We talk about specific cases. So for instance, if you've had as part of your treatment plan a splenectomy, there are different vaccines that we need to make sure you stay up to date with. If you're a young female, we talk about Gardasil being a vaccine to prevent cervical cancer. And then this is one I think that our patients are certainly well aware of. They may have symptoms talking about the late effects, but also some of those unseen late effects. How am I going to be monitored? Am I at risk? Many times we talk about the effects of radiation, the effects of chemotherapy, how that affects us, particularly in our cardiovascular system. What can we do to minimize that risk? And so possible late effects, psychologically, I've alluded to the fact that we all have our way of dealing with. We've got a wonderful staff in our supportive oncology. We have counselors, we have art therapy, obviously, we have music therapy, we have healing touch, we have acupuncture. Certainly we discuss if there's a need for medications. We have a psycho-oncology division. So really just want to make sure that patients are aware of it is okay to let your guard down. It's okay to be uncertain as to what might happen. And let's talk about how we're going to step from where we are in a level of uncertainty to being more comfortable with where we are. Certainly our patients who have had surgery may have some downstream effects. And women who've had breast cancer, we talk about lymphedema, but then also change in body image and just body function. Chemotherapy, probably the one I see most commonly, are both the effects on the heart, and we discuss patients who are at high risk, are they going to be at risk for cardiac manifestations? And then also neuropathy is not uncommon. We talk about different ways to manage that. Acupuncture, healing touch, certainly medications can be helpful, but we walk through that. Immunotherapy is probably more, is a newer advance in the past 10 to 15 years, and we talk about the different side effects with that. And as I mentioned, with radiation, particularly as it relates to increased risk of secondary cancers and also any vascular. I'm really proud that Atrium has seen the benefit of turning attention to sexual history and sexual dysfunction. In many cases, in many populations, that really is an unspoken part of their cancer journey, that either too embarrassed or feel nothing can be done. And we started about a year and a half ago a sexual health clinic, which I get the pleasure of seeing men who have had difficulties with their sexual function, and then my partner, Dr. Hall, will see our female patients. And in females, we talk about typical physical symptoms, vaginal pain, vaginal dryness. We have pelvic floor therapy that's available. And then for men, we talk about erectile dysfunction and loss of libido. And then certainly you can see listed the with the psychology, I mentioned the mindfulness, the music therapy, art therapy, and other supportive modalities. We have the acupuncturist, the integrative therapist, and a lymphedema program. Part of my job is to talk to patients about what do we need to do to change our lifestyle into something to help not only prevent another cancer or help prevent your primary cancer from returning, but also what are we going to do so that you can go on and be your best version of yourself? Diet, you know, we spend a lot of time talking about Mediterranean diet, plant-based diets, the data that suggests animal fats and proteins and their impact on cancers. Tobacco, kind of a no-brainer. Most people understand the risk of tobacco and its potential risk for cancer, but not only cancer, other manifestations, strokes, heart attack, vascular disease, and COPD, but then also alcohol. That's and many times we talk about it, well, just a little bit is okay. And some of the more recent data suggests that, even a little bit may increase in certain populations. And we just have an honest discussion about what our weekly intake of alcohol is. Obesity, it's obviously a really difficult topic. We know it influences about 14 different cancers. And we just have a conversation about how do we go about trying to lose weight. Again, this is where I try to put on my primary care hat. And we talk about intakes of calories. 3,500 calories is 1 pound, monitoring your calories, and then certainly other medications that are now available. Wegovy, you've heard them on the news, and their benefit potentially for cancer are probably in part related to their impact on obesity. Exercise, although we look for 150 minutes per week, that's probably not realistic in a lot of people's lifestyles. So we're just talking about, pun very much intended, taking one small step. Let's just take one small step to being a little bit more active. And then sleep, I call it our 401 investment, or 401k investment into our mind, our memory, and our wellness. And so what does that look like? Are we getting healthy sleep? So I'll wrap up. I did live a dream. As I knew I was at that point with no active disease. I've got 3 best friends. We've been together for about 25 years. We share life together. We unpeel onion layers, and they know my secrets. I know their secrets, and we encourage each other. We're behind. We ask hard questions of each other. 2 years ago, and then again just about 2 weeks ago, we decided we were going to take a walk in Spain. And this is, some of you may have heard of it, it's called the Camino de Santiago. And there was a movie about 15 years ago called The Way. For us, it was a spiritual journey. There are about 13 or 14 different paths to this town. It's called Santiago de Compostela. There's a cathedral there. You'll see it in the middle picture with the 4 of us as we entered into the space. It is where the remains of St. James supposedly lie. All along, we ended up walking 163 kilometers over a week's time, which is about 108 miles. All along that path, we look for yellow arrows and scallop shells, the shape of scallop shells. And you'll see that picture on the left. It really is, that's very common. It'll tell you the path. You're on the right path. Here's how you go. When I was there about 3 weeks ago, I saw this picture on the right. I thought it was funny because you could either go left or right. And I said, which way do we go? I'm not inherently gifted directionally, and so our fellow on the left and not the fellow on the right was able to lead us to the right path for our particular destination. And so, but I thought about that picture as I took it. I said, that's a lot like it is when we have cancer or when we're cancer survivorship. Now what do I do? What path am I supposed to take? Sometimes there's not a wrong path. Sometimes there is. Sometimes we don't know what that path is going to be. And sometimes we know that even though we're on our way to a dance, on our way to a cathedral, we know that there might be a war ahead of us. And so our job in survivorship is to walk with you, try to put in place the things that can get us to that dance, and let's try to avoid that war. I appreciate your time and your attention. Thank you very much. I love flowers. Yes. Pretty got the brown in my eyes.
Thank you so much. That was fantastic.
Thank you.
So a wonderful call out to El Camino. One, those of you that have interacted with someone very who plays a very special role in our supportive oncology program, Susan Yaguda, is on El Camino as we speak. And 2, the best coffee shop in Winston-Salem is also called El Camino, and based on El Camino. So a fun fact. So, well, thank you so much, Dr. Kendall. That was really a wonderful talk. And again, you bring so much to your care with the perspective and the journey that you've had. So we're going to switch gears and we're going to have some time for lunch. Your tables will be dismissed by a teammate to line up in the front lobby. There you can pick up your lunch bowl, condiments, and drinks. If you gave us a special dietary need, we will have that lunch set to the side. Let's reconvene right at 12:30, and for those online, back at 12:30. Thank you so much. An impressive fact, she and Dean Quick, who you heard today, held the world's first live music therapy session for a patient while undergoing their Gamma Knife surgery earlier this year. And today she will share her musical expertise and talent with all of us for the next half hour and lead us in a creative songwriting session. So, Maddie, thank you so much for all your contributions today.
Okay. Can everyone hear me? Okay. Okay, great. My name is Maddie. I am one of the board certified music therapists here with Levine Cancer. And some of you may be familiar with music therapy because you know us, or you may know somebody else who is a music therapist or has received music therapy. But in case you don't know about music therapy, what we do is we use music to address the non-musical goals, the non-musical things that affect your everyday life. So that sometimes this can be symptom management, so things like pain or nausea, anxiety. Sometimes it's really coping needs, so dealing with grief, dealing with fear of recurrence, dealing with the other stressors that may affect your everyday life outside of cancer as well. And so one way that we do that is through songwriting. And so today we're going to enter our interactive portion of the retreat today by doing some songwriting together as a really, really large group. So at your tables, you should have a worksheet that says times like these on it. How we're going to start this is I'm going to sing through a song that some of us may be familiar with. If you don't know it, it's completely okay. You might actually have an advantage because you'll get a fresh perspective at the lyrics. But as I play it, your job is to take your pen and underline or circle any lyrics that stand out to you. They can be significant for any reason. Maybe it reminds you of how you're feeling today. Maybe it reminds you of the day that you first heard you have cancer. Maybe it reminds you of somebody that you know. It can be big or small, but whatever stands out to you, just mark it, and then we're gonna briefly discuss and then get into some songwriting, okay? Far It's times like these you give and give again. It's times like these you learn to love again. And it's times like these, time and time again. All right. So just curious to get a show of hands, how many of us are familiar with that song or a version of that song? It sounds a little different, right, without Dave Grohl on the drums. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna have Jackie come around. She has a mic. I just would love to open up the floor. What are some of the things that stood out to you? And if you are willing to share, just raise your hand and she'll come find you to share. And there's no wrong answer, by the way. We got someone over here, yeah.
Day rising. I'm a new day rising.
Yeah, tell me more. What about that stuck out to you?
Well, I feel like I'm starting over and actually doing it over and over. But I need to look at I need to look at it as a bright new day.
Yeah, I love what you said about the over and over, because I think in this song there's so much repetition, right? The line that is repeated the most is time and time again, right? So sometimes we go through what feels like a cycle, right? Okay, I made it through this treatment, so okay, I'm done with that, but why am I feeling this way again, right? And I love that idea of hope, right? A brand new day, a new day rising. So it's hard to get there, but there are some days where we feel like that, and there are some days where it's a little harder. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, go ahead.
The verse that really stood out to me that's so awesome, it says, it's times like these you learn to love again. And that really said forgiveness. Just forgive. You didn't ask me to elaborate, but let me just say this. It's with everything that we're going through, anybody that we had an issue with, love them. Anything that kept us from moving forward, forgive and love them. Whatever is in your way, forgive and love them so that we can soar and get to our healing.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that the word forgive, because I think that can go for people like in our support system. Like I think back to our connect to purpose with Jackie and Sandra, right? Sometimes we say the darndest things. We don't know what to say. But being able to forgive in those moments, and even ourselves too, you know? So yeah, I think that's great. And I love the soar. We might be able to do something with that here in a little bit. Yeah, what else?
I love the hook where it says, in times like these, you learn to live again. And I find myself now, I am doing way more than I've ever done before. Like before, I was just existing, but for some reason, I'm pushed to enjoy life a whole lot more.
Yeah. You know, it's not just that like barely getting by kind of feeling, which I'm sure a lot of us in here have felt or maybe even feel today, but the living, right? Yeah, I love that. Great. Anything else? Yeah, up here.
Coming from the back, girl.
Okay, mine was, but I'm a little divided because with our cancer diagnosis, you know, we're not the same person. We have to learn to be a new normal, you know, whatever that path is.
Yeah, yeah. So there's that duality. It's kind of what I'm hearing, right? It's not.
Yeah, and I always celebrate stuff, you know, celebrate anything, just whatever.
Yeah, I love that. I know a lot of our clinical team talks about this, but sometimes we feel like, okay, if I'm feeling really down today, then I can't celebrate the good things, right? Or if I'm feeling really happy, then I can't be sad or grieving or whatever else is happening. But a lot of times it's a both and. Both can be true. Yeah.
I like the line that says, I'm a street light shining.
What about that stuck out to you? Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, that there's a great imagery in that too, right? And shining bright. Yeah. All right, so what we're going to do for the sake of time, because we could spend a lot more time on this, and thank you to those of you who were vulnerable and shared, we're going to take our worksheet, we're going to flip it over, all right? And on this side, you're going to see a lot of blanks, okay? So what we're going to do as a group is rewrite the song. And the reason why I had us kind of underline and circle some things is because that can give us a great starting place of what to write. Some of the things that you just shared might be great concepts to put into lyrics. There may be some of us in here who have written songs before, but I'm going to guess that there's a lot of us who haven't. So just know that for this group songwriting session, there's no wrong suggestion, there's no wrong answer. I'm going to turn this down for a second. Your thoughts, even if it doesn't fit perfectly, might get somebody else's brain going, and then we can, as a group, come up with a lyric that really, really works, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play through this first verse to kind of remind us how it goes, and then if you have an idea, just raise your hand and Jackie's gonna come find you, okay? All right. So we have, I'm a da 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 da. So this can be like a metaphor, it can be anything else. I think we have a suggestion right here, Jackie. Yeah.
Say, I'm a survivor.
Survivor, how perfect, right? I'm a survivor. We like it? Okay, awesome. All right, so in that first blank, we're gonna write survivor. All right, now we're gonna elaborate on that. I'm the one that da 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 da. I know your blank isn't very big, but we got one up here, Jackie.
Ooh, yeah. Right there.
You're getting your workout today.
I'm the one that can get through this journey again.
Can get through this journey again. All right, I'm going to play it. Let's see what we think. Okay. I'm a survivor. I'm the one that can get through this journey again. What we think? Yeah, pretty good. All right, good teamwork. Let's keep going. So we can elaborate on this idea, or we can pick something else to say. I'm a. Something to consider. Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe we can say that in our next one too, because maybe it can kind of go back and forth, right? We kind of talked about like that cycle of this like push and pull. So what if we did I'm a da 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 da. I feel like I just got diagnosed, or something like that, or I just got diagnosed. We could put that there too. Any other thoughts or ways we can adapt that? I like the idea.
I was going for the third line, and I kept thinking tiger up with survivor.
Say it one more time.
Tiger?
Tiger?
The
Yeah,
third
like Eye of
line?
the Tiger, kind of. Yeah. Let's see. So I'm a tiger. Okay. So we had I'm a survivor. I'm the one that can get through this journey again. And I'm a tiger. I like it, and it kind of rhymes, right? So let's elaborate on that. Yeah. Yeah. I beat the odds. Yeah. What's the first part? Something by my stripes? Let's see. Yeah. I'm a tiger. Maybe something like, you see my stripes and blah, blah, blah. You see my stripes as scars, but, or and. Let's elaborate. We got one here. Yeah, go for it.
I beat the odds.
That we are healed. Let's see. see my stripes, and see that I am healed. See my stripes. Ooh, and the stories they tell. Yeah. All right. Was there another suggestion back there too?
Yes, he suggested beat the odds.
Ooh, beat the odds. All right, I'm going to hold on to that because we can put that somewhere else since we have this one. Okay, so we have I'm a tiger. See my stripes, the scars, and the stories they tell. That works, right? Okay, I'm going to play it from the beginning. So we have I'm a survivor. I'm the one that can get through this journey again. I'm a tiger. See my stripes as scars. Yeah, see my stripes as scars and the stories they tell. Beautiful. All right, that was the hardest part to write. So already give yourself a hand of applause. Here we go. All right, so now we just pick one word, really, to fill in these next blanks, okay? So it's times like these you learn to blank again. We want to keep live? All right. No, I think a lot of us really like that lyric, right? So it's okay. If it feels applicable, let's keep it. All right? So we'll start with live. What else? Say it one more time. Dance. Sing. Yep. Okay. Well, how about we do that second line, we can do sing and dance. I think we'll be able to fit it. So if we start with live, so this is what it'll sound like. It's times like these you learn to live again. It's times like these you sing and dance again. Yeah? Pretty good? The next one, it's times like these you learn to soar. I heard soar back there. I also heard breathe. I think we can still work with that. Let's do soar, and we'll come back to breathe. So learn to soar again. Roar? Ooh. All right, we're gonna do a little vote. All right, do we want roar or do we want soar? Okay, so if you want roar, give me a hand up. We're tigers. Okay, if you want soar. Okay, roar one, but we might find a place for soar two. Okay, so let's start with roar. That's how we'll end that first chorus. Then if we jump down, we're gonna skip this next section. If you go to the next one, let's add some of those other words that we said. So I heard breathe, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe we can start with breathe. Maybe we can end with soar, since that was an option. So let's find something for that middle blank. Yeah, give again, pay it forward again, heal again. What do we think? Love again, be again. Oh, I like that. I like be. Trust. Yeah. What about trust? Because I think that might incorporate a lot of the things we just said, right? To be again, we have to kind of trust ourselves again. Trust can also be for other people. Yeah, I'm seeing some head nods. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so that second line we'll do, you learn to trust again. So that second chorus will be, let's see, it's times like these you learn to breathe again. It's times like these you learn to trust again. It's times like these you learn to soar again. Yeah? And it's times like these, time and time again. Awesome. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. For the sake of time, all right, I'm gonna challenge you to write that second verse on your own, okay? You don't have to do it today. You can do it later when you want. But especially now that we've done it together, you kind of have an idea of how it can go and what you can write about. We talk a lot about music being a container. So it's a place to put your feelings. It's a place to be vulnerable. It's a safe place, right? Nobody has to hear your song unless you want to share it with everybody. You can always pull up a karaoke track and sing it, right? But there's so many ways that you can just process and cope and find a place to really let whatever is on your mind out, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play through what we have written, and then you are challenged to finish the song on your own or at your table if you have extra time, okay? And if you want, you can sing along with me. You sing and dance again. There you go. It's times like these you learn to roar again. And it's times like these, time and time again. It's times like these you learn to breathe again. It's times like these you learn to trust again. And it's times like these you learn to soar again. And it's times like these, time and time again. Yes, it's times like these, time and time again. All right. Good. Well, there's one little piece of business. We have to come up with our songwriting group name. All right? So what's our band name? Any ideas? You can shout it out. One more time? Warriors. What do you think? Okay. All right. We'll do Times Like These by the Warriors. I love it. All right, good work, guys. And again, just remember that this is an extra resource for you. Again, songwriting is one of the many things that we do in music therapy. So it's an extra resource for you. Thanks.
Well, that was just fabulous. So we'll see that on Spotify soon, and I'm sure we get climbing up there. Maybe Taylor Swift will pick it up. You just never know. So now we'd like to introduce Ann Kinlaw. She's a supervisor and clinical social worker, and she'll be providing us with some resources and wise people who can help you when facing the difficult financial questions and challenges people can face as they are facing cancer. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. That's a hard act to follow and have to talk about something like financial issues. But I hope that what I have to share today, if it doesn't help you, it might help someone you love. Or if you walk away with one resource or one piece of knowledge today that you didn't have before that helps you on your journey, then I have done my job. I only have 20 minutes. Some of these subjects really could take a lot more time. I have a table out there with a lot of resources, and just so you know, I have one page that has all of the links that I'm going to share with you, all of the phone numbers, the team members you need, all on one page. It's got my business cards above it, and so Don't worry about taking all this down. If you want to pick up a page to have any of those resources, it's ready for you. So the goals today of this brief presentation are pretty simple. If I can work the thing, then we'll be okay. It's not going. All right, there we go. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the financial burdens that may happen to you when you have cancer, share some information about programs we have at Levine and in the community, and help connect you to some people who can help. Financial burden or financial toxicity is a term that you may hear, and it basically means financial distress as a result of the disease or treatment decisions, which can be considered similar to physical toxicity. You know, we don't always think about the fallout that may happen to us financially when we're fighting through our treatment. Problems managing the cost of cancer can be referred this way or as distress, hardship. And studies show us that 3 out of 4 people experience this. They experience some form of financial distress. So here's an example of some of the things that can hit you when you are facing cancer. Back in 2005, in my own journey, my husband was diagnosed with cancer. He was a teacher. I was a therapist. We owned our own business, a group practice. All of a sudden, I couldn't work a lot. I couldn't make much money. He had to be away from work to go to treatments. So expenses rose. There were co-pays, transportation costs, all of those things that hit us. And unfortunately, a year later, he was diagnosed with a stage 4 disease that had advanced. The burden got even harder. And this is part of why I have the passion for sharing this with you today, because I was at one of the best cancer centers in this country, but no one advised me. No one came and said, have you thought about applying for disability? My husband had worked many years. He was eligible for disability. I didn't even think of it. I was in my 40s. I had 2 young sons. We were busy with a business and life. But all of that time, he could have received some help that would have meant a lot to us. So it's my hope today, as I share, that you kind of understand something here that can help you. This study here shows an example of what may happen if your finances are stretched too far. 42% of patients have a significant financial burden. They might partially fill a prescription, not fill one at all, not take as much as prescribed to save money, use up all their savings, or reduce what they can spend on food and clothing, leisure activities. This is another study that I found really interesting that talks about some of the effects of financial toxicity. Obviously, the costs, like we saw in the previous slides, but the risk of bankruptcy, decreased satisfaction with care, even delaying care for fear of the bills, a poor quality of life, or poor survival. And probably the most important part for me to really look at here is the barriers to communication. And I think as patients and caregivers, sometimes you're just so busy fighting and so busy getting through treatment that you're not thinking about the bills or the impact on your finances to ask for help. And maybe for some people, and research shows us this, some patients are afraid to let us know that they have financial concerns. They're afraid that their treatment won't be as good. And I can assure you at Levine that is not the case. You will be cared for well regardless of your insurance or ability to pay. So hopefully you will speak up if you need to get help. And so our lovely hospital system does have some programs to help people, and this is just a brief summary of them. If you need assistance with any of these, again, I want you to call one of these numbers and get some personal help. But we have an uninsured discount. If you don't have insurance, it automatically happens. 50% of gross charges, they are eliminated. However, when it comes to cancer care, 50% could still be a very high bill. And so we have our coverage assistance and financial assistance program, or our hardship settlement discount, which is also available even if you have insurance. If your bills are adding up to 10% or more of your income, you may be eligible for a reduction of your bill. And this would also result in perhaps still a balance, but you could get an interest-free way to help pay for that. The numbers are there on the screen, and so please reach out to customer service or a financial navigator if you need assistance. These two services, you do need a referral. COBRA assistance, if you are working and you're no longer able to work, but you're eligible for insurance at your place of employment. If you are in active treatment, that means you're going through chemotherapy or radiation, you may be eligible for assistance from Atrium to pay your COBRA so you can keep your insurance. Please let your financial navigator, your RN navigator, or your social worker know. There's also in Mecklenburg County, Physicians Reach Out, which is a program if you don't qualify for any of the government's programs or eligible for managed care, where you can receive medical care, but you would need a referral. Okay, one of the most common ones that we get questions about a lot is, how can I get Social Security disability? And like I shared my own story, we didn't even think about it. We didn't even know we could have gotten Social Security disability. And so Social Security disability is something that you are eligible for if you've been working over the last 10 years and paid into it. If you've been at home with children or working, quote, under the table, you would not be eligible for Social Security disability. But the tricky part here is it takes 6 months from the date of determination of when you're disabled before you get paid. And many, many people don't understand this, and it's very frustrating when you're facing a cancer diagnosis. This is part of why it's important to have short-term disability, if you possibly can, insurance through your employer. That would help cover that time of the 6 months if you did go on Social Security disability. There's also social supplemental income, which is for low-income people that may qualify if they don't have the credits working to get disability. And sometimes people during that 6 months, if your income and your assets are very low, will be able to get the SSI supplemental income. These are both federal-based programs. Other things to know about Social Security disability, you can apply by going on the website, calling the 800 number, or going to your local office. It's very important to also understand that Medicare comes with Social Security disability, but not for 2 years. 2 years from the date of determination. And so you need to have a way to have insurance or charity assistance or something until that point. And that's something that, again, people are often not prepared for. The other thing to know is, if you didn't realize, like today, that maybe you're facing a disabling condition and you haven't applied, and you apply, but you've been disabled for the last 6 months, there's a possibility that Social Security would retroactively pay you up to 12 months. Sadly, 65% of disability applications are initially denied, and folks have to appeal. However, that percentage is high because that's looking at all of the types of illnesses where people apply. If you have a later stage cancer, like a stage 4, most stage 4 cancers, some of the blood cancers that are very chronic, most likely you would get approved. But again, if you do get denied, you want to go ahead and appeal as soon as you can. On a state level, we have North Carolina Medicaid. It was expanded this year to where you do not have to be disabled, but you do have to be in this income bracket to receive North Carolina Medicaid. You can apply at social services or online at one of the sites with ePass or the healthcare.gov. South Carolina Medicaid remains where you have to apply for disability, and then South Carolina Medicaid, and you have to be declared disabled, so it's harder to get in South Carolina. There is a special type of Medicaid called breast and cervical Medicaid for cervical cancer, and the income limits for this are a little bit more generous. I do have some pages outside on the table that will show you what those are if you feel like you could benefit from that program. Other things to be aware of are the fact that there are some laws that may help you if you are still working with your cancer diagnosis. And I think this is something that maybe we don't encourage enough, to really go to our employers and ask for accommodations so that maybe we can keep working even while fighting cancer. And so the American and Disabilities Act is one that you could could provide some protection where you can go and ask for maybe working shorter hours, or maybe working remotely, or maybe not being on your feet as much, or those kinds of things because of your cancer treatment. A wonderful website is triagecancer.org. I have some of their materials outside, but you can go to their website, and it is amazing, all of the resources they have on all kinds of topics related to finances and cancer. So feel free to explore that. The FMLA Act is another one where you could be guaranteed up to 12 weeks of unpaid job-protected leave that could apply in your setting. And then cancerincareers.org is another site that will provide you with guidance around how to talk to your employer, how to ask for accommodations, legal guidance if you need it. It's, again, a wonderful resource. Just listed some of the websites that are related to government benefits, and just wanted to make you aware of the second one there, which is called Compassionate Allowances. This is a list by Social Security, whereas if your diagnosis is on this list, most likely you would be approved for disability. And then in our community, many of our cancer patients will take advantage of grants that may be available in our community for specific disease types. For example, breast cancer has some in our area. Go Gen Go is one that is very prominent. There are others that are national that they can benefit from. I did not try to list all of the resources that would not be possible with all the different diseases represented. So these are just some areas where you can go that anyone with any disease type can benefit from. If, however, you find a grant and you need medical documentation, again, our social workers, our RN navigators, our financial navigators are available to help you. So our resource hub is a great place to go to find community organizations for legal help, transportation, housing, food. Cancer.org is the American Cancer Society that helps fund some benefits we have for transportation and lodging. They actually have some volunteers that will help with transportation, and a 24/7 clinical support line. Triage Cancer and Cancer in Careers, I mentioned earlier, again, are wonderful sites to get more information. And here's your teams who can help. Each patient that has cancer should have access to a nurse navigator. Most of the time, they do a great job of meeting you at initial diagnosis. If you don't have one currently, just call our Cancer Resource Center. We'll be glad to connect you. Same with social workers. Our clinical social workers are available to any cancer patient and located in all of the clinics. Our financial navigators are available by phone. They can help with questions about your medical bills, COBRA, if you need to apply for a marketplace plan, those kinds of things. We also have patient assistance programs for drugs, for infusion drugs, where referrals are made to lower your cost of these drugs, and that happens automatically in our system. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. That's another way that Levine is looking out for you. And then our Atrium Health Coverage Assistance Program team, they are available. Often these are the folks that come to your bedside and check on you in the hospital, and they can help you if you're uninsured to apply for different government programs or assistance through Atrium. So just some important things that I hope you remember from this. Number one, you will receive quality care regardless of your insurance, what type of insurance, or your ability to pay. We are here to first and foremost take care of you. Secondly, support services are available. Please feel free to ask. Don't be shy if you're facing financial burdens, and we might have a program that can help you. The handouts are available outside this room, and I'm more than happy to try to answer questions. My cards are out there above the handout with all the resources, and you're more than welcome to reach out to me, and if I can't help you, I will connect you to someone who can. So I just wish you all the best on your cancer journey. Don't let anything stand in the way of making the best of each day that you have with those you love, and thank you very much.
All righty, well, we figured after the finance talk we were going to need a little bit of a break, although it was wonderfully well done. Like most things financial, perhaps if we put it to music, it would be even a little easier. But let's go ahead and take 10 minutes, and again, a huge thanks to Ann for the wonderful discussion. Pleasure to introduce Laura Kahn. She's a psychotherapist with our supportive oncology team at Levine Cancer. She'll provide some insights, tools, and resources to help us understand that fear of uncertainty is common, and certainly you are not alone in that. Laura, thank you so much for coming today.
Hi there, everybody. Can you all hear me okay? Am I speaking into the microphone? I'll try to be mindful of that throughout. Well, hi, thank you so much for being here today. I'm just so overwhelmed with just everything that we've heard today, all these different opportunities to get creative, musical, hearing all the information, shared from people up here, and seeing you all connect with each other is just really special. So I'm so happy to be here. I'm also really excited to share some of the skills that I actually teach in my therapy practice with you guys. And I'm hoping to shed a little bit of light on an experience that is extremely common. It's something we've all probably experienced either already or it's definitely at some point in your life. You're going to experience some fear of uncertainty. And so some of the skills that I share today, I'm hoping will help you sort of drop that struggle against your fear and start to kind of learn to walk alongside it. Okay, so if you take nothing else away from my talk today, I hope that you take these two things away. First one is that fear of uncertainty is extremely normal and it's extremely common. So you are certainly not alone in experiencing fear of uncertainty. And that's because uncertainty is a huge part of our daily lives. It's everywhere. It follows us around all the time. It's at work, it's at school, in your kids' schools. It's in the news, in politics, it's at the doctor's office sometimes, waiting for the doctor's office to call. It's in, global events. There's so many things that happen that are outside of our control. And it's extremely normal to have some feelings of fear around that. And actually, that's because our brain has this sort of internal automatic alarm system that's set to go off whenever we encounter something that's unfamiliar or uncertain. And it's sort of our brain's way of trying to keep us safe, comfortable, and happy. But sometimes that uncertainty can kind of trip up our fear alarm system and it can get stuck in the on position. And if any of you guys have had an alarm at home, a smoke detector or something that's like going off and you're having a hard time turning it off, that can be really annoying, right? And kind of stressful to get that off again. So, so just knowing that that's normal, that we do have a fear alarm system and sometimes we can get kind of stuck in our fear. So a couple things we're going to cover today. First of all is maybe seems really obvious, but the first place to start with all this is how do I know that I'm scared? How do I begin to identify my feelings of fear? What purpose does fear serve? Because this is true of all of our emotions. Every emotion that we experience has a purpose and has a reason for why we feel it. It serves us somehow. So we're going to look at what fear does for us. And then lastly, looking at some of those coping skills to help us walk through that fear of uncertainty. So I mentioned a moment ago that our brains have this internal automatic alarm system that goes off to alert us to danger or to a threat. And if we can tune into our emotions and start to really tap in and say, what am I feeling right now? That can help us build some awareness of what that alarm is telling us. So I think we all can probably relate to if you guys have those emergency alarms on your phone that sometimes go off. Maybe it's you're minding your business, you're going about your day, it's a quiet moment, and then your cell phone just starts blaring this emergency alarm. And we have to pick up our phone and look at it and see, what is this alarm telling me? What's going on? What's it warning me about right now? Maybe it's one of those National Weather Service alerts, warning you of a tornado warning or a flash flood or something. Maybe it's an amber alert. Maybe it's some kind of outage of some kind. Maybe it's something dramatic, like a police presence somewhere that you need to be aware of. So we have to look at that to know, what is this warning me about? Well, the same thing is happening in our brains when our fear alarm system goes off. It's trying to kind of get us to this place of safety, comfort, and happiness again. And tuning into our emotions can help us identify, okay, what is this fear alarm? What is this alarm that's going off? So all these emotions that are listed up here are slightly different than fear, but they're all traced back to fear. They're very similar. So if you can tune into your emotions and build some awareness around, am I feeling scared, nervous, anxious, on edge? Am I irritable? Irritable is kind of a sneaky sort of related emotion to fear. Am I restless? Do I feel a sense of dread or impending doom? Helpless or doubtful? All of those can kind of help you sort of notice if you are struggling against your fear of uncertainty. And that emergency alarm system in our brain can also come out as thoughts. And thoughts are different than feelings because thoughts are the things that we tell ourselves when we're feeling afraid. So thoughts are kind of like our internal dialogue. So it might sound kind of like, what's going to happen next? What if the cancer comes back? If you're a medical professional, what's my patient's next scan going to show? How will I get through this? How will we get through this? Will I ever feel better? Is this going to ease up? Will I catch a break? Are these side effects going to let up? And again, if you're taking care of somebody with cancer, what if my patient feels worse? So if you can kind of catch yourself and notice your thoughts and notice if you're wondering with words that start with what if or when will or how will, those can all be pretty strong indications that you might be feeling some fear. And our emergency alarm system sends out signals to our body. There's this entire physiological process that gets going when we feel fear. So tune into your physical sensations. Notice muscle tension. Notice rapid heart rate, headache, GI distress like nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, butterflies in your stomach, appetite changes. Maybe you're overeating or you have a total loss of appetite. You're not interested in food and it's really difficult. And pay attention to your sleep. Are you sleeping too much and you're still not feeling rested? Or is it really difficult to fall asleep, stay asleep, and therefore you're fatigued as well? Those can be signs of fear. And lastly, that emergency alarm system can affect how we behave or what we do in response to feeling fear. So if you can tune into your behavior and what you're doing, how you're interacting with other people, are you withdrawing from others? Are you canceling plans or kind of not making plans with people that you normally enjoy spending time with? Arguments, is it really difficult to get along with you or to get along with others lately? Maybe you're more easily frustrated with people or situations. Maybe you notice a little uptick in road rage, being impatient in traffic. Reassurance seeking. This one is very, very common and actually is not an inherently bad response to have when you're feeling afraid. When you feel afraid, it can be really helpful to seek out support from other people, to go to a trusted person, a loved one, your medical team for guidance and for information that might help bring down that fear a little bit. But I would encourage you to look at that and see if you are seeking a lot of reassurance, like tons and tons constantly, and if it's not helping your fear, that could be a sign that you're stuck in fear, that your alarm system is stuck on, and that you might just need a little bit of different support or some extra support somehow. Control seeking. That's because our brain really wants to predict and control what's going to happen. It doesn't like not knowing what's going to happen next. So if you notice, maybe not asking for help from other people as much, being really independent, maybe, I don't know if anybody can relate, not me, anybody can relate to this, of cleaning your house even though it's already clean. You know, cleaning things that have already been cleaned, or, you know, taking control of your teenager's room because you're the only one who can clean it right, something like that. Those could all be signs that you are feeling afraid. And most of the time, we really try hard to distract ourselves from feeling fear because we just want to feel safe, comfortable, happy again. And so that can really affect the things that we do in response to fear. So now let's look at the purpose of fear, why we feel it. And this is actually true of all of our emotions. As I kind of said, all of our emotions serve a purpose somehow. And there's a really wonderful book that I highly recommend. It's by Dr. Brené Brown. It's called Atlas of the Heart. And in that book, she guides you through places that our mind goes when we feel afraid. And in Atlas of the Heart, she says, quote, "Our emotions help us make sense of our surroundings and provide needed input to managing ourselves and responding effectively to stress and to others." So that's it right there. Our emotions help us make sense of our surroundings and help us effectively respond to stress and to other people. We have this normal range of human emotions, probably hundreds or thousands of emotions that we could potentially experience throughout our life. And they all can be traced back to just a few core emotions: that's sad, mad, glad, or scared. And fear is an incredibly natural, expected emotional response when we're faced with danger or a perceived threat. For example, if you hear of a cancer diagnosis or progression or a recurrence for you or for someone that you care about, that's a very understandable threat that would spark some fear. And fear tells us vital information about what's going on and about what we need. So I don't know if anybody else has seen the Disney movie, the Pixar movie, Inside Out. There's two out right now. There's the original one and then a sequel. But the first one, especially, Inside Out, is so helpful at kind of showing us how our emotions serve us, what they do for us. And in that movie, there's a character called Fear that helps the little girl Riley. Fear helps her pause and consider her options before she takes action. So fear helps keep Riley out of danger in that movie. And fear does the very same thing for us. It helps alert us to a problem, and it can keep us safe by motivating us to make healthy lifestyle changes, to seek out support and be around the people that love us and care about us. It can help us meet obligations and deadlines. It really serves a vital function for us. We need fear in order to survive. And at the same time, it can be really unpleasant and really uncomfortable. I think most of us don't want to feel fear, and we try our best to avoid it or just kind of get rid of it, ignore it. And that's okay too, if that's kind of the response that you're having. That's a very normal response. So let's just recap for a minute. Let's see what we've walked through together so far. We know how to identify our fear. We know that we can look at our emotions, our thoughts, our physical sensations, and our behaviors to help us make sense of, what am I feeling? Okay, I'm feeling fear. We know why we feel fear. We know its purpose. We know that it's trying to keep us safe and get us back to that stability of feeling safe, comfortable, and happy. And so up next, how do we begin to walk alongside it instead of fight against it? Because, spoiler alert, if the more you try to just ignore and avoid the fear, the stronger and louder it's going to be. Just like if we try to ignore an alarm, it's usually not just going to go off by itself. We have to help it. So there's a few different types of therapy that are shown to be really helpful in helping us identify, feel, and cope with our fear. One of those kinds of therapies is called acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT. And it's a mindfulness-based cognitive behavioral therapy that helps teach us how to feel our emotions and commit to both the present moment and to positive behavior change. And so, in tuning into our present moment or using mindfulness, which has been talked a lot about today, remember our wonderful chaplain, Amanda, led us through a mindfulness exercise this morning. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So, just think back to what she shared and walked us through. That's mindfulness. So, when you use mindfulness and you commit to using that skill and practice it over time, that is actually what helps us handle our fear and start to kind of bring down that alarm system. It starts to turn it off because we're actually not ignoring that fear. We're not ignoring the emotions or the thoughts that come up or the physical sensations. We're approaching it and we're telling our brain, okay, thank you. I hear that alarm. I know that it's going off. I'm not ignoring it. I'm doing something about it. We're okay. So it kind of, convinces your brain that you're addressing it because you are. And so one of the skills that acceptance and commitment therapy teaches is called dropping the anchor. So walking through that here. By the way, you guys have a handout in your goodie bags today. There's two from me. There's this dropping the anchor technique that you guys can take home and practice. I hope it's a helpful reminder to all of you. And the first step that uses this acronym ACE, that helps us remember this skill. So the first step in dropping the anchor is A, which stands for acknowledge feelings. And if that sounds familiar, that's why we did so much work to notice, what am I feeling? How do I know that I'm scared? If we look at our emotions, thoughts, physical sensations, and our behavior, that can help us better identify our feeling and then be able to acknowledge it in this skill. The next step is to see, come back into your body. So this is a mindful practice that helps us turn our attention back to our body, back to our present moment, and kind of helps sort of bring our attention back from the future and our worried, anxious thoughts or feelings and come back into the present moment. And lastly, E, engage in your environment. And that is turning your attention back to the present moment, your current environment, what's right in front of you. And something that can be really helpful in helping us engage in our environment is another skill. You guys have another handout of this in your goodie bags to help you mindfully come back into the present moment and engage in your environment. It's a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 sensory grounding technique. And I just want to acknowledge for a moment that this skill, it traditionally, encourages us to use our 5 senses. So sight, touch, sound, or hearing, taste, and smell. So it's okay if you need to adapt this skill to whatever senses you have available to you. Maybe, because of treatment or otherwise, maybe some of your senses are a little bit altered. That's okay. Maybe your skill is 4, 3, 2, 1 or 3, 2, 1, or maybe you just list out as many things as you can see or that you can smell or you can taste, but you can make this your own. So let's practice together just for a moment. I invite you to practice this with me as I do this. Let's use our ACE skill. So first, let's bring our attention just for a moment. It's been a long day. We're kind of towards the end of the day. Let's just kind of refocus a little bit in here and now and acknowledge feelings. So I'd encourage each of you just to kind of turn your attention inward and notice what emotions are coming up for you right now. Maybe you're feeling content or hopeful, especially maybe after information that you've heard today or connections that you've made. Maybe for our lovely introverts in this crowd, maybe your social battery is draining and you're feeling a little fatigued. That's okay. Maybe for our extroverts, you're energized and motivated. That's okay too. Maybe I'm boring you, and that's okay as well. I promise we're not judging feelings. We're mindfully noticing. We're not changing our feelings. We're just acknowledging them. And next, let's come back into our body. And if you feel comfortable doing, or if you're able to do this with me, let's come back into our body by kind of doing a body scan. Another thing that Amanda walked us through earlier this morning. Let's notice our faces. Let's raise and lower our eyebrows. Let's furrow our eyebrows together, look angry, and then relax. Let's kind of move our jaw around a little bit, break up some tension. Maybe kind of gently stretch your neck a little bit, side to side, or kind of roll your head gently and slowly. And let's drop it down to our shoulders. Let's kind of go up and back and down. Kind of roll them back or roll them forward. And let's go to our arms. Let's kind of stretch them out. You can raise them up. We don't really do this throughout the day, do we? So it feels kind of good. You can kind of roll your, wrists around, stretch your hands, squeeze, make a fist, and let it go. Kind of turn at the waist, twist a little bit in your seat. Move your legs, bend your knees, move your ankle around, your toes, press your feet into the ground. So you can just kind of go from head to toe or toe to head to kind of come back into your body, bring your awareness back to your physical sensation in this moment. And lastly, E, engage in our environment. And to help us do that, let's go through 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 with our senses. So I'm going to say mine. Again, I encourage you guys to follow along with me. Do this for yourselves. I'm going to say mine out loud. And I couldn't prepare for this beforehand. I didn't know what I was going to see. I didn't know what I was going to hear. So this is a very realistic, practice of this skill right now. So I'm going to do the best I can. So listing out 5 things that I can see. Okay, I see these really bright lights in front of me. I see the computer monitor. I see the crowd out here, lovely attendees. I see an empty table. I see Anne, I see flowers, great. That's more than 5 things, wonderful. So that's 5 things that I can see that are in my immediate environment right here, right now. 4 things that I can touch or feel. So I'm mindful of my sleeve, just kind of resting on my arm here. I can feel the smoothness of my paper. I feel kind of the firmness of the podium. And I feel my glasses on the bridge of my nose. 4 things you can feel. 3 things that you can hear. Okay, I hear a little bit of movement, maybe over here. It's actually very quiet. I hear the echo of my voice. And the rustling of my papers. You can generate noise if you need to. It's okay if you don't. Laughter, clapping, excellent, thank you. Whatever you can hear in the moment. 2 things you can smell. So I'm actually, this one usually stumps me, but I can actually smell this hand soap from the bathroom in there on my hands. And just kind of like an office-y kind of smell. I don't know how else to describe that. Conference room, kind of office, a little bit of coffee maybe, I don't know. And one thing that I can taste. I actually took a sip of Pepsi before I came up here, so I have kind of this sweet taste in my mouth right now. So that is using our ACE skill. That's dropping the anchor and that's acknowledging our feelings, coming back into our body, and engaging in our environment using our grounding technique. So although these skills that I've just run through today can really be helpful in helping you walk alongside your fear rather than ignore it or avoid it, there's no reason that you should have to walk with your fears completely by yourself. So these are some resources up here that Levine Cancer has. This is not an exhaustive list. I just was limited on space, so forgive me, I left off a few things. But I encourage this to all of our patients, their caregivers, survivors, to tap into any or all of these resources. First one being psychotherapy, whether that's here at Levine Cancer or if it's out in the community. It's just important to find a therapist that you trust to help you identify and process your thoughts and feelings. Therapy can provide you with present moment skills training like mindfulness and other acceptance and commitment therapy techniques. And therapy helps you cope with other life stress, because rarely is cancer the only thing that's stressing you out, unfortunately. There's amazing Levine Cancer professionals and specialties that can help you kind of ease your fears or walk with you through it, through some of the uncertainty. Medical oncology, radiation oncology, integrative medicine, palliative medicine, rehabilitative services, our clinical social work team, which, by the way, just like Anne shared, they can help with really practical resources. They're also licensed therapists that are trained to provide counseling. And so they can provide you with all the same benefits, all the practical resources and the benefits of psychotherapy as well. You just basically ask to speak with a social worker, and just like magic, one will appear. Psychiatry, our pastoral care, like the wonderful services that Amanda kind of showed you up here on stage this morning, and our very talented, much beloved artists and music therapists like Maddie and Dean and their beautiful work that they've done with us today. Supportive oncology programs like support groups and classes and events like this. So I will leave you with this. Here's one of my favorite quotes of all time, but especially from Robert Frost. It's kind of been the basis of my entire therapy practice as a therapist. It's the best way out is always through. And I hope that the information that I've shared with you today, that these skills are helping you all realize that you're not alone in your fear of uncertainty, and that hopefully some of these skills help you begin to walk alongside it instead of fight against it. And in that same sort of spirit of using mindfulness, I would just encourage you all that you do not have to live in any day other than today, and just be right where your feet are. And I wish all of you the very best. Good luck using these skills. And I wish you all the very, very best on your journeys. Thank you.
Well, wonderful. Well, a huge shout out to Laura. That was fantastic. Well, we've come to the end of our day. First, let's have a huge round of applause for the wonderful folks that put this together, our speakers, and everyone who put their heart and soul to hopefully what would be a very helpful day for you all. Now, sometimes folks will ask, well, is there any way that I can kind of take my experience and have this be a resource for others? And the answer to that is yes. For those that are so inclined, there is a peer mentoring program for individuals that have kind of been through the journey or walking the journey, to be sometimes a resource for people that are starting the journey, a way of paying it forward. Maria, that helps to lead this program, will be by our photo booth in the back. So anyone who has, even an inkling of interest in that, certainly stop by and chat with her about that. We certainly thank you all for being here, being part of this community today, whether patient, caregiver, regardless of where you are along the journey. Again, deeply grateful to have you here. So I wanted to close with a poem that some of you perhaps have heard, but I think really summarizes it the best. Started the day by sharing, none of you are cancer. Cancer doesn't define you. It's just one aspect of your journey in life, and one that hopefully we have helped to make a little lighter to carry today. And the poem is entitled, "What Cancer Cannot Do." Cancer is so limited. It cannot cripple love. It cannot shatter hope. It cannot corrode faith. It cannot destroy peace. It cannot kill friendship. It cannot suppress memories. It cannot silence courage. It cannot invade the soul. It cannot steal eternal life. It cannot conquer the spirit. We wish you peace. Bless you. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. For more information, visit us online, send us an email, or give us a call. Don't forget to click subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know when new videos are released. And most of all, be well.